Welcome to Thai Movie Recap, where we bring Thailand's most haunting stories back to life, one film at a time. Tonight's story takes us to a lonely boarding school, far from the city, where secrets hide behind classroom doors, and ghosts still walk the quiet halls at night. It's not just a horror film, it's a story about friendship, guilt, and the kind of loneliness that never really leaves. This is Dorm 2006, The Boy Who Stayed Behind. A story where the past refuses to stay buried, and one boy learns that even the dead just want to be remembered. So grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and step quietly into the dormitory with me. Because sometimes, the scariest ghosts are the ones still living inside us. Welcome to Thai Movie Recap. Let's begin. Dorm 2006, The Boy Who Stayed Behind. Have you ever felt like your parents were sending you away, not for your own good, but because they couldn't bear to have you around anymore? That's how Ton felt. A 12-year-old boy sitting in the back of a dusty yellow school bus, watching raindrops race down the glass window. His father sat beside him, staring at nothing in particular, just the road ahead, the kind of silence between them that felt heavy. Ton: Dad, why do I have to stay in a dorm? Father: You'll understand when you're older, Ton. It's for your own good. But deep down, Ton knew the truth. His father needed space, not for Ton, but for himself. The bus stopped in front of an old boarding school. Tall iron gates, faded letters on a sign that once read, Sri Tanan School. The building behind it stood like a relic of the past, gray concrete walls, wooden shutters, and an uneasy quiet that didn't sound like childhood at all. A teacher in a brown uniform came to greet them. Her name was Teacher Pranee, stern, proper, but with eyes that seemed to know too much. Welcome, Ton. You'll stay in room 207. Dinner is at 6, lights out by 9. Ton followed her down the corridor. The walls were lined with old class photos, smiling faces of boys from decades ago. Some of the pictures were faded, and in one, Ton thought he saw something strange. A blurry shape behind the group, a shadow that didn't quite fit. When they reached room 207, Teacher Pranee opened the door. You'll share this room with 3 other boys. Keep it tidy, no late night talking. Inside, Ton met his new roommates. Chat, a loud kid who loved to tease, Yod, quiet and observant, and Ache, who never seemed to look anyone in the eyes. New kid, huh? Heard your dad dumped you here. Laughter from the others. I guess. That night, Ton lay on his bed staring at the ceiling. He could hear the sound of the rain still falling outside, and somewhere, the faint dripping of water inside the dorm. It was colder than he expected, and just as his eyes started to close, he heard it. Someone walking down the hallway. But when he peeked through the crack of the door, no one was there. Only the sound of wind and that endless dripping. Life at the dorm was routine. Classes, meals, silence. The kind of life that made the days blend together. But the one place everyone avoided was the bathroom at the end of the hall. Rumor had it, a boy drowned there years ago. No one really talked about it, but every freshman heard the same story. If you hear someone crying near the sinks at night, don't answer. Ton didn't believe in ghosts. At least, not yet. One night, he went there alone, a flashlight in hand, just to prove he wasn't scared. He looked into the mirror, only his own face, pale in the flickering light. Then, he froze. Ton: Hello? Is someone there? No answer. Just more crying. He pushed open one stall door after another. Empty, empty, empty. Until he reached the last one. Nothing. But when he turned around, the mirror behind him showed a boy standing right next to him. Ton spun around. No one there. The reflection gone. He ran out, heart pounding, and didn't tell a soul. Days later, Ton's class had swimming lessons. The school's pool was old, tiles cracked and covered with green moss. Teacher Pranee stood at the edge, whistle in hand. Teacher Pranee, calling out, Everyone in! Don't play near the deep end. Ton didn't like swimming. He stood near the shallow side, watching the water shimmer under the sunlight. Then, out of nowhere, a hand grabbed his ankle and pulled him under. He struggled, kicking wildly. The water blurred, bubbles rising around him, and for a moment he saw a face below him. A boy, eyes open, smiling. Ton was pulled out by another student. He gasped, coughing violently. Teacher Pranee, sharply, Who pushed you? Ton, trembling, No one, I just slipped. But he knew he hadn't, because in that 1 second under the surface, he'd seen it clearly. The boy from the mirror. That night, Ton sat outside near the dorm steps, staring at the reflection of the moon in the puddle. He wasn't crying, but the weight in his chest felt like something pressing down. Then he heard a voice. Voice, soft, almost shy. You shouldn't be out here. Teacher Praney doesn't like it. Ton looked up. It was a boy, about his age, maybe a little older, wearing an old-style school uniform. Ton, who are you? Boy, smiling faintly. Vichian. I used to stay in this dorm too. They talked for hours that night, about school, about home, about feeling unwanted. Ton found himself laughing for the first time since he'd arrived. Vichian was funny, kind, and seemed to understand everything Ton felt. But when Ton asked, "Which room are you in?" Vichian just smiled and said, "I don't stay anywhere anymore." From that night on, Ton saw Vichian everywhere, in class, on the playground, by the pool. No one else seemed to notice him, and when Ton finally realized why, it was already too late. In a school full of secrets, sometimes the only friend you find is the one who never left. After that night, Ton wasn't lonely anymore. Every morning, Vichian would wait for him by the dorm gates, smiling as if he'd been there all along. They ate breakfast together, they sat together in class, and somehow no one said a thing about it. At first, Ton thought maybe the others just didn't care, but then he noticed whenever Vichian was around, the air got colder, the light dimmer, and people's voices quieter. Still, Ton didn't want to think about it. He finally had a friend, someone who listened, someone who understood what it felt like to be invisible. It was lunch break. Ton and Vichian sat by the pool again. The surface was calm, but the water had that strange stillness, like it was waiting. Vichian, softly. "You know, I used to love this place." Ton, smiling. "Yeah? Why?" Vichian, "Because it's quiet. No one comes here after that boy drowned." Ton, "Hey, do you believe in ghosts?" Vichian looks at him for a long moment, then smiles gently. Vichian, "What if I said, you're talking to one right now?" Ton laughs nervously, shaking his head. Ton, "Come on, don't mess with me." But Vichian doesn't laugh. He just looks down at the water, and for the briefest second, Ton sees a reflection in the pool. Two boys sitting side by side, but only one of them casts a shadow. It was literature class. Teacher Praney was reading from an old storybook. Teacher Praney, "Every ghost, children, remains in this world for a reason. Some because of revenge, some because of love, and some simply because they never realized they'd died." Ton looked up, and across the room, Vichian was staring at him. Expression unreadable. After class, Ton followed him outside. Ton, serious. "Tell me the truth. Are you—" He can't finish the question. Vichian, softly. "I didn't mean to scare you." Ton, "So it's true?" Vichian, "I drowned. In that pool. A long time ago, Vichian tells him everything. How one night, the seniors locked him out of the dorm as a prank. How he'd tried to sneak back in through the poolside door. How he'd slipped and never come back up. When they found his body the next morning, the teachers told everyone it was an accident. But the truth was buried, just like him." Vichian, quietly. "They said I broke the rules, so they erased me. My name, my photo, my story. But I couldn't leave." Ton, voice trembling. "That's why I can see you?" Vichian, "Maybe. Maybe you're the first one who ever wanted to." Teacher Praney noticed the change in Ton. He talked to himself more. He sneaked out at night. He smiled when no one else was there. One evening, she called him to her office. Teacher Praney, stern. "Ton, who are you talking to these days?" Ton, nervously. "No one, ma'am." Teacher Praney, "Don't lie to me. You've been near the pool again, haven't you?" Ton, "Why? Why can't we go there?" Teacher Praney's expression shifted. A moment of guilt, like she'd been carrying a secret too long. Teacher Praney, "Because that's where it happened. The drowning. And some wounds never close." Ton, "Was his name Vichian?" Teacher Praney froze. Her eyes widened slightly. Teacher Praney, whispering, "Who told you that name?" That night, Ton couldn't sleep. The dorm was shaking from the storm. Lightning flashed through the windows, casting shadows that seemed to move on their own. He heard the sound of footsteps again, but this time he knew who it was. Vichian stood at the end of the hall, dripping wet, eyes calm but distant. Vichian, quiet. "I think I can leave soon." Ton, startled. "What do you mean?" Vichian, "When someone remembers you, really remembers you, you don't have to stay anymore." Ton, "Don't go. You're my only friend." Vichian, "You'll be okay, Ton. You're still alive." And as the storm passed, Ton realized something. Sometimes the people we hold on to are the ones who teach us how to let go. But this wasn't the end. Because in the morning, the pool would be drained, and what they found beneath it would change everything. The next morning, the storm had passed, but the air still carried something heavy. Students whispered in the hallway. The janitor said the pool had overflowed during the night, so the teachers ordered it drained, for the first time in years. Tun stood by the edge, watching the muddy water swirl down, and as the last of it disappeared, something shimmered beneath the surface. It wasn't just dirt. It was the outline of a small wooden board, with faded letters carved into it. Tun crouched and brushed off the muck. The letters slowly revealed themselves under his trembling fingers. Vichien, 1990. You'll always be remembered. His breath caught. All this time, the truth had been right beneath their feet. Then, from behind him, a voice. Low, calm, familiar. Vichien, you found me. Tun turned. Vichien stood there, smiling faintly. Tun, why did no one tell me? Why did they hide it? Vichien, because people don't like to remember sad things. Tun, but it's not fair. You didn't deserve to be forgotten. Vichien, maybe, but now you remember me. That's enough. Vichien, thank you, Tun. That evening, Tun went to see teacher Prani. She was sitting by her desk, looking through old reports. Her eyes tired, her movements slow. Tun, teacher, I know about Vichien. Teacher Prani, quietly. I was afraid you'd say that. She took off her glasses, rubbed her temples, and then told him what she'd never told anyone before. Teacher Prani. He was one of my students. A kind boy. He wanted to go home for New Year's, but the rules said he couldn't. The seniors teased him for crying. Teacher Prani. That night, they locked him out as a joke. He tried to get back in. He slipped. Teacher Prani. When they found him, the school begged me to keep quiet. To protect the institution, they said. So they erased his name. And I did nothing. Ton, softly. He forgave you. Teacher Prani. What? Ton, he told me. He doesn't blame you. Teacher Prani began to cry, quietly, like someone who'd been holding her breath for years. The next night, Tun walked back to the pool. It was completely drained, just an empty basin reflecting the moonlight. He sat at the edge, holding a small candle. The flame flickered in the wind. The Chin appeared again, no longer pale or tired, just peaceful. Tun, so this is goodbye? The Chin, smiling. Maybe not goodbye. Maybe just thank you. Tun, I wish I could have helped you sooner. The Chin, you already did. The Chin, when people die, Tun, it's not the end. We stay until someone remembers who we were. And slowly, his figure began to fade. Tun, shaky whisper. The Chin. Then, silence. Just the empty pool, the candlelight, and a boy sitting alone, crying softly into the night. A year later, Tun had transferred to a new school. He laughed more, smiled more. But sometimes, when the rain fell just right, he'd still look out the window and think of the old dormitory. He once told a classmate, I had a friend who never got to go home. And somewhere, in the quiet corners of that abandoned dorm, a soft breeze would blow through the hallways, carrying faint laughter. Dorm isn't just a ghost story. It's about what it means to let go, to forgive, and to be remembered. Vichien's ghost wasn't there to haunt. He was there to heal. We often carry our own ghosts, the guilt, the loneliness, the things left unsaid. But maybe, like Tun, we all just need someone to sit beside us and say, I remember you. Because sometimes that's all it takes, for the dead to rest and for the living to finally live. Thank you for listening to Thai Movie Review and Spoil. This was a heavy one, a story that leaves you with a lot to think about. What are your thoughts on the film? Which scene has stayed with you all these years? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. That's all the time we have for today. Until next time, goodbye.